a weird day in America. Weird. You know, they're looking, the people in power are looking to make speech criminal. Your thoughts a crime. Looking to do anything to crush dissent, which that means simply anyone who opposes or critiques. This is a decades-long psyop. A long time it took us to get here. It took a long time to convince enough working class people that the real enemy is anybody that disagrees with you. Here in the land of the free, where people like to claim free speech, the real enemy is people that you maybe disagree with. It's not the people who made $25 billion in net income, Microsoft, and is still going to lay off 3% of their workforce. It's not the people making those decisions that are actually doing the laying off. That's not your enemy. Your enemy is the people who maybe want to have a pronoun, have a specific pronoun. The people that are your enemy are the ones that maybe critique you or say we should tax billionaires. Those are the real enemies. And it's been a long time coming to get people to believe that. You know, because at first, if you're not in this bubble that we live in America, and you heard like, well, your tax money should be used for your health care, you'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That works out, that adds up. But you say that in America, you get called socialist, a communist, something with the wrong definition. Something that don't mean it. Welcome, I'm Rob. This is the Newsman Terry live stream. I do every weekday. Hopefully we're live. I tried going live a little while ago, but as soon as I went live, it said disconnected. Would you like to reconnect? And then it started spinning. So hopefully this one will go live and get uploaded. We're going to talk about Microsoft making $25 billion. They netted. That means that's their take-home pay. They netted. It wasn't the gross pay, even though that number is gross. $25 billion. And even though they netted $25 billion, they said, we gotta do layoffs. Microsoft announced they're laying off 3% of their company. So with that news story, I want you to think, who's your enemy? Who controls? I always heard in the propaganda that you got to give tax breaks to the corporations and the rich people. They're the job creators. Well, if they're the job creators, aren't they the job destroyers? I mean, how much money does Microsoft have to make for Wall Street to not do layoffs? I want you to think about that. They made $25 billion net. And they just announced, yeah, we're doing fine. Company's booming. AI is going to replace everybody. We're going to have new AI. Bill Gates run the show. $25 billion Microsoft just made. And guess what they announced? 3% layoff worldwide. Not just America, worldwide. Felix, what's happening? You into edibles? Are you? I like to eat stuff. So Microsoft, even though they made $25 billion, it's not enough, and it never will be enough. That's why I think it's hilarious that people are like, it's immigrants, it's gay people, it's women, whatever you're screaming at. I'm like, are those the people? Are you specifically talking about the CEOs and the wealthy people of corporations? Do you know someone specifically that you're mentioning that? Because as far as I know, it is not a transgender immigrant woman. What else is the culture war? Radical left woke socialist that is heading up Microsoft. Everybody that's about to get laid off at Microsoft, the 3% of you, I'm pretty sure it is not all the things the news is saying that is making your paycheck go away. It is greed by those who have way too much. Plumbers and carpenters will always be needed. Yeah, until Boston Dynamics creates a plumber carpenter robot that's called the Jesus. If you don't think they're gonna make a plumber carpenter HVAC robot, you fucking nuts, man. It's coming for you. I seen a robot breakdance. And the funniest thing about that, the Boston Dynamics, is like Elon Musk has people using remote controls, probably like the Joy-Con joystick that the Titanic sub imploded with. He's probably having people control his robots with those, while Boston Dynamics is like, look, our robot can compete in the breakdancing Olympics. Do you think it's possible to import a raccoon as a pet? I don't know. You'd have to befriend one in the wild, Ali. And raccoons look amazing. I don't know if I'd be scared of one up close, because they are kind of big. And they rove in gangs, as far as I know. And the footage I've seen of them in dumpsters or trash cans, like my brother sent me, shout out to my brother. I don't know if I would, I could befriend one. I guess if you had enough food, you could befriend a raccoon. But that'd be cool as hell. I'll be honest with you, where I live, we have coyotes. And one just came very close to me and my dog when I was taking my dog out the other night. And it just kind of scurried on by. It was very big. I was like, oh, that's a big German Shepherd that's not on the leash. And I was like, oh, nope, that's a coyote. Okay. And it was maybe 8 feet from us. And just like Ali, garbage bandits, the old trash pandas. But Ali, I can't lie to you. My first instinct was, I wonder if I could befriend that coyote. I wonder if it would trust me. What is wrong with us? So I would say, I don't know if you could import a raccoon as a pet, but I absolutely think if you had enough food on you, like raw hot dogs or something, and you have to go in the woods at night, okay? Because if you see them during the day, I'm pretty sure they have vampire syndrome, and they will bite you. But I'm pretty sure if you had enough raw hot dogs, you could befriend a raccoon. You might get a couple bites, but again, I am not a raccoon specialist. This is not financial advice or whatever the fuck they say on YouTube. Sorry for the cursing. Okay, so Microsoft announces 3% layoffs, even though they made $25 billion. I want you to think about that. When you watch the news, when you hear these talking heads, when you hear Joe Rogan talk about the real problem is these wokists. These wokists. Like locusts. The wokists are taking over. When you hear Joe Rogan start talking about the real issue is people wanting to be considered or have a pronoun or whatever it is, just remember that those aren't the people that are laying 3% worldwide of the company off. They didn't make $25 billion. There's a lot of people, I want to remind people, there's people in America that are just asking to survive. They just don't want to stress about rent, maybe go on a vacation. That's not radical. That's not woke. That's fucking human. And if you're one of those people like, then get a real job, or you say shit like, go to college, just remember they made college unaffordable and unattainable and crushingly debt-filled. You become debt-ridden. So just remember that. Have a little humanity. That's what I'm here to remind you of. Have a little humanity when you hear someone saying like, I've been working my hardest. I work 40 hours a week, or I have 2 jobs and it's hard to get by and I'm worried about the price of eggs. Hear them, be like, shit. And even if you're like, well, I'm filthy rich and that shit don't bother me, have compassion. Be like, damn, that must suck. And maybe at a time in my life, I lived like that. It was horrible. So I'm here to remind you that, because the people who are controlling shit, like when you see the Trump stickers, Take America Back, I always say, from who? It's always been run by rich people. Your supreme leader is a rich dude. Donald Trump's been rich forever. Why? He was rich before he was born, because his daddy, because he's a Nepo trust fund baby. Old Fred Trump made sure Donald always had a golden spoon up his ass. But I want you to remember that, okay? Now, Hassan Piker. I don't know if you watched the Twitch streamer. I like him. He's a smart dude. He was detained at the airport in Chicago. He was coming in from France, got detained. And this is a theme that this regime is implementing in America right now. Do I dabble? I skip a dabble do. Yeah, but I don't care about stocks. You know, the stock market is rigged. If you've ever seen, who's that, Jim Cramer? Whatever that dusty ass Kramer dude who does the Mad Money on TV. There's a YouTube video of him floating around when he was doing like in-house videos for like the stock market people that he was creating before he was on TV, and he lays out how they have rigged the stock market, how rich people have so much money that they can influence, they can make the ebbs and flows. That's why the whole diamond hands roaring kitty thing was big, because it was finally the little people using their money together to make the stock market move. But wealthy people do that all day long. They have too much money. That's why we need to tax wealth, not work. Tax wealth, not work. Hey, what's up, Pro Gaming Vian? Good to see you again. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm here every weekday with you. But Hassan Piker, the Twitch streamer, who is a leftist, he's radical because why? He believes that healthcare is a human right. He thinks we shouldn't be in trouble for our thoughts and our speech. And he was detained in Chicago O'Hare Airport. I linked his video describing his entire experience. I watched it, and really my number one thought was like, you know, if you're ever stopped, you always ask them, am I being detained? If so, you know, I need to speak to a lawyer. I have nothing to say. I plead the fifth. And if you don't believe me, just watch rich people when they are in deposition. Watch Donald Trump in deposition. That motherfucker pleads the fifth like it was, you know, going out of style. Donald Trump, plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. Watch rich people. They do it. Why? Do you think they're going on their own advice? No. They pay lawyers to tell them what to say. And most of these rich people will plead the fifth. Why? Well, because you've all heard it in the TV shows. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. It doesn't say anything you say is probably going to help your case. They say we will twist your words and we will spin it and shoot it back out at you. So just be careful. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I watch lawyers. So outside of Hassan, you know, not kind of entertaining, and I get why he was answering questions, but you always want to ask, am I being detained? Okay, I think I need a lawyer present. And one will be afforded for you. But you know what? That doesn't even matter in America, because they got rid of due process and they're trying to get rid of habeas corpus. If you hear that, that just means due process. That just means you don't get to have a lawyer. The king in charge decides, he sends his goons after you and they just make you disappear. No, I don't right now. College is overrated. I don't know about that. I think paying for college is overrated, but I think any kind of education, any kind of further knowledge is never overrated, you know? I don't ever think continuing to learn or wanting to shut yourself off from learning, especially in a specific field, is overrated. I think it's kind of cool, and I wish there was easier access to it. So yeah, Hassan detained, and Hassan is not a criminal. He's a great thought leader, and if you know anything about history, what do the powerful regimes who want to oppress the people and stifle and crush any dissent, again, that just means they don't want to be criticized or questioned. They want their authority to be absolute. That was the reason we started America, by the way. So we had representation, so we didn't have an absolute tyrannical king deciding everything and making people disappear at his own whim. But what do? What do regimes do when they need to crush any kind of spirit of like, hey, this is wrong? Well, they go after the thought leaders, the people who can question things smartly, who are wicked smart, kid. And that's what them going out, that's what them intimidate. It's bully tactics. They're being bullies. And them detaining Hassan, I believe, is just them trying to be a bully, trying to put some fear into him. Maybe he'll think twice before he questions their regime again, which is sad, because I always thought America was about free speech, being able to critique the politics and the powerful without fear of that government coming against you. And throughout history, it's been littered with the government coming after people, but now it's a whole different ball game. Um, and I think, if Joe Rogan ever changes his mind on Trump and, gets out of his billionaire bubble, or if Joe Rogan, I don't know if he ever leaves Texas, but if Joe Rogan goes overseas and comes back, and maybe Joe Rogan, let's say a hypothetical, Joe Rogan critiques something Trump did. Trump catches wind of it. And he's like, oh, I don't like that. You have to say yes to everything I do. You have to say, yes, sir, I'm the best. CJ, what's up? But I think my hypothetical is if Joe Rogan goes, let's say he goes to France, just like Hassan did, and he critiques something Trump did because he's like, this is weird, man. He's getting rid of due process, which anyone who likes America should like due process. That's a staple of being in America, having a trial and having to be able to present your case. That's like the whole thing, that we don't have these Gestapo tactics that just make you disappear because the leader said so. But Joe Rogan, if he criticized that, then went to France and then came back across the border and they detained him, they were like, oh, what do you do for a living? Huh? What do you think about Trump? I think Joe Rogan, if he experienced that, we would get more people to wake up, because it's people like him. It's all these propagandists that are feeding the monster, not realizing the monster can be used against you at any moment. That's the real the foolishness of these people like Joe Rogan, anyone that's kind of going along or thinking, well, it hasn't affected me, or it can't affect me, or it won't affect me. I'm an American citizen, or I have my rights. Your rights are gone. Once they disappeared rights for other people, it doesn't make you special. Once they erode those rights and the courts can't, put them in check, there's no check to the power. There's no balance to the power. Once that's gone, it's gone for everybody. So they're testing the waters right now. They're seeing how far they can push stuff, what they can get away with. And I think it's going to take like a Joe Rogan. It's going to take some people that have fed this monster, made this monster fat and greedy and feeling all powerful, to feel those effects so they can come back and go, oh shit, we created a monster. My friend went to college. He's currently working in the oil field. Absolutely so dangerous. So dangerous. But yeah, the pay is good. And that's a horrible thing. I don't know if you guys hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. I don't know if you saw my community post. It was a meme that said, to have the home buying power that boomers had in the 70s, our minimum wage would have to be $66 an hour. And I've always said the minimum wage should be $37 an hour across the board. And people are jarred. I love that. People are shocked when I'm like, minimum wage should be $37 an hour. But I actually have always said it should be higher. I just don't like giving people heart attacks. It should be $66 an hour. If you want to have the same home buying power, the same wealth equity that the boomers had in the 70s, we would be getting minimum wage $66 an hour. Because you got to remember, it's not a true 66. They're taking taxes. They're taking your health insurance out. They're taking all this stuff out, right? That I don't think they had taken out in the 70s. Not like we do now. They don't have the health insurance. I don't know what the health insurance was like in the 70s, but it wasn't as corrupt and as rigged as it is now. But $66 an hour. I shared that post, so hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can see the posts. And you can join me when I do my newsmentary every weekday. $66 an hour. And it's always funny to me when people are shocked or like to bark at me or chirp off about, 66, why should you be making that much money? It's like, shit, just because you want to live. Everything costs too much because we want to live, we want to buy a home. But it's amazing to me that people, when I tell them that the CEO of my company who just got hired, who made $95 million in 4 months, is paid like close to $100,000 an hour, people don't bat an eye. They go, that's the way it is. It's so weird that Americans have become so lazy, so pathetic, so trained to just worship greed, that if I say workers should get $66 an hour to have the same home buying wealth equity that the boomers had in the 70s, they get uproarious. And the funny thing is I'm talking about them. And if you're making $66 an hour, then you should be making whatever over 66 that your wage can equate to, what that difference equates to. So I'm talking about getting everybody a raise. And everybody gets upset at that. And it's so funny to me because I'll be like, my CEO makes like $100,000 an hour, not a year, an hour. It would take me, I don't even know, 5 years to make what he makes in 1 hour. Take me 5 years, he makes it in an hour. And they might even fire, like, we don't even know if he's good or not. 4 months, you can't prove shit in 4 months. And he's not alone. You know what I mean? Like, CEOs are making hundreds of thousands of dollars an hour. And I'm like, oh, we should be paid $66 an hour. And they're like, oh, what do you mean? Burger flippers. It's so weird to me that people freak the fuck out when they think themselves and their neighbors might be able to live comfortably. They'd rather cut their own legs off just so everybody else has to suffer too, than possibly think like, oh, maybe the issue is the people making what we make in 10 years in 1 hour. Like, oh, maybe that's what's wrong. That people are making my salary in 1 hour. That might be the issue. No, they don't think. It's fucking irritating. Top 1% need to pay their 70%, so we can go back to having an American dream. 100%, CJ. They need to at least be paying 70%. And Trump, if he gets his tax cut through, he's trying to cut corporations tax from 21%. It was 35, now it's 21, which is lower than I pay in taxes. So $1 billion companies, if you missed it in the beginning, Microsoft made $25 billion net. They netted $25 billion, and they just announced they're laying off 3% of their workforce globally. So there's never enough money. And this is where I try to get people to realize that, like, the enemy isn't the immigrants, the transgender, the gay people, I don't even know. What else is the woke radical left thing that they call? Whatever they're telling you is the problem, it's not. You know what the problem is? Do you know what the problem is? The problem is Microsoft made $25 billion in net income, not grossed. That number's gross. But they netted $25 billion, and they still went, oh, $25 billion, that's good. We got to lay off 3%, so next year it can be $25.2 billion. Like, this is dumb that people can't see this. This is easy math to comprehend. They made $25 billion in a year, and they're laying off 3%. The layoffs are not going to stop until we fight back, until we go, we've had enough. You can't make that much money and then turn around and fire all the people that helped you make that money. Had to sub, dude. It's incredibly refreshing to hear you say all this. Makes me feel like I'm not crazy at all. Alex, you are not crazy. And in fact, you have seen through, I like using this because all the right-wing weirdos use it. You've seen through the Matrix. Whatever the Jordan Petersons and Tates are saying, the Joe Rogans. They all think they see through the Matrix, but what are they doing? They're making you think that the fucking problem is your neighbors. You know, Jordan Peterson will talk about lobsters, misrepresent the nature of lobsters to make you think that it's like wokists, like locusts, infiltrating everything. But truly, the only issue is there's people at the top hoarding all the money, making all the money, laying us off, rising prices, not paying us enough to just buy a home. And then they want tax breaks on top of it. It is fucking nuts. But I love it because I'll say stuff, and just try this. Go, the minimum wage should be $66 an hour. And people will be shocked. They'll be like, how dare, you would think you slapped their mother. But then make sure before you say this, you look up how much the CEOs make. Find out the Target CEO, I think he makes 20 something million. The CEO of Starbucks made 95 million in 4 months. Over a year, that's almost 300 million. So look up all the CEOs, right? This is what I like to do when I'm waiting in line at Target and there's one thing open. And I go, Jesus Christ, I can't hire any other people? And they go, yeah. And I go, well, it's not the cashier's fault. They ain't hiring nobody. But you know who? Let's look up, what is his name? Brian Mays or something, the Target CEO. Go, let's see how much he made. Or maybe he could have shared some of those millions with some of the cashiers down here. That's the issue. That they keep paying these CEOs, they keep doing stock buybacks, which were illegal until 1982. So thank you, Alex, for subscribing. I'm doing news commentary every weekday. And more people, we just need to make people understand that when you say $66 an hour for minimum wage and they act shocked, you go, well, are you shocked that the CEOs are making $100,000 an hour? And they go, well, yes, they're a CEO. In 4 months, you can't prove your worthiness in 4 months. I'm sorry, you need at least a year's time. And some of these CEOs don't even make it a year. They make it 2 years and they get paid $8 million just to leave the job. There's no reason those people need to be paid that much when their employees aren't paid enough to, service the local shops. They can't be patrons at the local places. They can't buy homes in the community. Like, think about that. Outside of these bastard economists, these capitalist economists, think about really what helps the economy. When somebody's paid enough where they can not rent, they can buy a home, raise a family, have kids or whatever the fuck, have pets and service at the vet and patron the vet and buy dog food at local places, and they can afford to. They're paying everybody so little that everyone has to shop at Walmart, shop at Amazon, wait for the deals, buy in bulk. It's fucking crazy. And somehow this has become normalized, and I refuse to accept this as normal. Why? Because I'm so old now that I'm like, I remember when people could work one job and be like, oh, I can make rent and I'll go on vacation once a year. And that just slipped the fuck away. That disappeared. Now people are trying to work 2 jobs and their vacation is, taking a sick day when they're not really sick, wink, wink, and that's even shunned. It's like, fuck you. I'm sorry. I can't get enough of, I'll say the minimum wage should be $66 an hour and people's jaws will drop. You would think I slapped their mother. And I'm like, bitch, do you know how much the guy running this company, that I don't even know if he's here today? He's never showed up. I never seen him. And he's using a private plane and he's making $100,000. How come he has to make $100,000 in an hour? Why can't he make $10,000 an hour? Is $10,000 not enough? What the fuck is he doing? That's months of rent for me and you. You know what I mean? He's making a down payment on a house an hour. How many houses does this guy have? And like, how big is his family? When you just start thinking about it, this is why we need to talk about this, folks. Could we please just collect the taxes to rich hoes? We can't, CJ, because Deficit Donald eradicated the part of the IRS that they had just hired, all the new hires. And those people were hired by Biden they were specifically trained on the tax code for the uber wealthy. Because you got to remember, it's literally in the tax code that they can write off yachts. So you have to have people that are specifically trained to understand like when they're hiding money or when it's a real deduction. And when they eradicated that, when Deficit Donnie eradicated that, because he was like, I don't want people to come after me. Let's keep all the plebes in there so you guys can get audited. Remember when he said he was audited? I'm still waiting for his taxes. Remember? Old honest Don. What did he say that 10 years ago? I'm being audited. As soon as it's over, I'll show my taxes. Yeah, right, buddy. Oh my God. There was more news. But it was, seriously, I want you guys to watch Hassan's video. I linked it down below. Because Hassan getting pulled out of line and detained and questioned is, again, this is, I don't know what you think of the government, and I don't give a shit if you're red or blue. Every person that lives in America should be anti the government bullying people for their free speech, for their criticism of the government, or their just them doing a lot. Hassan just does a live stream, you know what I mean? And he's pulled out. The guy is harmless. The most danger he presents is he thinks. they're Joe Rogan. I heard a clip of Joe Rogan because I can't watch that buffoon. But I heard him talking about, they're doing thought crimes. They're making crime. They're making thoughts a crime in the UK. And he was complaining about him and Jordan Peterson. Complaining about how, people are getting arrested in the UK for Facebook posts, and they're talking about maybe arresting people for thought crimes. Joe Rogan, literally, I heard him say thought crimes. I said, Joe, what do you think is going on right now? Right now, with Hassan getting pulled. He didn't get arrested, but what do you think they're doing? They're going, the way you think is against what we want people to understand or think about or critique us of. And because your thoughts are so dangerous to our rule, we need to pull you aside and say, hey, buddy, what do you think you're doing? Yeah, you're free to go, but you better watch yourself. That's fucking tyrannical government. That's a bully government because he thinks differently. Ugh. What you should say is protected by the Constitution. It is. Cash Patel, the FBI. Yeah, he's running the FBI from Las Vegas. It's a bad movie. It is like Don't Look Up, but the government version instead of climate. Oh my God, where is Adam McKay? Please write a movie. I wish I could write a movie like Adam McKay. Oh, what else? So Microsoft layoffs. Oh, there's a bunch of news I linked. Oh, the healthcare, United Health, you know, the one that their CEO got murked. Well, he was middle management CEO. Their big CEO, I think his name's Andrew Whitty, just got let go. Why? Because they said their profits were down in 2025 or 2024. And they said they hope to return to bigger profits in 2026. And I thought that's a weird thing to say because their profits are based off of people dying, people not getting the health care they deserve. That's how they make money. They take your money to insure. Remember, they're health insurers. So they take your money to ensure you have health care. And then when they deny you the access to that insured health care, they make profits. And I thought that's what we need. We need to make health insurers illegal. We need to just make our tax money the money that gives us access to doctors and health, okay? Our taxes should pay for that. Where are my taxes going? The roads are shit. Everything is not working. If you try to do any phone calls to a government thing, people are like, yeah, try to use the government. It's like, yeah, why do you think? Where do you think our taxes are going? They're robbing us, and the rich people aren't paying it. Tax wealth, not work. We need our taxes to invest in our infrastructure. We need our taxes to invest in our health care. Was doing the big guy's job. Yeah, well, remember that big guy, Andrew Whitty, released a video after his middle management CEO got murked. And he was very tone deaf. He was like, we will continue on the strong tradition of letting people die and taking their money. And I was like, man, if Americans only had a spine. You know, it's so funny. You see all these people all these maggots running around thinking they're tough because they're like, yeah, we're gonna bully the most vulnerable in the society. It's like, why don't you bully the most powerful in the society? Why don't you bully grow a spine? If America just had a spine like we did in revolutionary days when we were like, you think you're gonna king us? Get out of here. Get out of here. No, Kamala, that's the other thing. I should have linked this. Hassan just did an interview with Jean-Luc Mélenchon, a French Socialist Party rep. And he was an amazing interview. And I highly recommend you watch and learn from other countries' politics just to broaden your horizons so you don't have such a narrow scope. Plus, sometimes there's other ideas. What do you think Americans were doing, you know, at the Revolutionary War time? They were visiting France. They were going, oh, we need some ideas, man. I wish they took more ideas. But they were getting funding too. But you can't ignore an idea. Once you hear something, the seed is planted. So I highly encourage you, if you can find the Hassan, it's on YouTube, interview with the French Socialist Party leader, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, if I'm pronouncing that. Yeah, we need some ranked choice voting. I say we do some kind of parliamentary thing where we can have parties that have to do a coalition to utilize the power. But this red and blue bullshit, I'm done with it. This system sucks. You know, it's got to go. No more red and blue. They're both backed by corporates, wealth, and it's not for any working people. Like I said, the minimum wage should be $66 an hour just to match the home buying wealth power that the boomers had in the 70s. And people are shocked at that, but when you tell them CEOs are making $100,000 an hour, they're like, yeah, sounds about right. And it's like, what made you such a lame duck? Who beat you? You know, who beat you into submission? There's no reason for like 50 people to be making that much money and then doing stop buybacks so their wealth grows even more. Remember, they're called the 1% for a reason. There's not many of them. And they're hoarding all the wealth. All of it. All right, guys. I got to split. CJ, it's so good to see you. Who was Alex? Thank you for subbing. Hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell. I'm Rob. I do news commentary every weekday. I had more news stories, but I just kind of got fired up because, all these talking heads are talking about the wrong shit. They're all making you believe that it's like some people with no power, these vulnerable people in society that are the ones, making the layoffs happen. They're the ones that not paying you enough. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious right now? Microsoft, just the news stories down below. Microsoft netted $25 billion. And right after they were like, we're laying off 3% of the workforce. And if AI could come along quicker, we'll lay off all of y'all. But somehow it's like the immigrants' problem. Oh, that was the other thing. I thought America was done with immigrants. I thought the party in power and their minions always. This is the other news story I want to talk about because I can't understand where these people stand. When you only have an agenda, I guess you have no morals or ethics. So their agenda is what? Because there's been big news about Trump welcoming South African immigrants, but I thought his whole party was against immigrants coming into America. So what is it, folks? MAGA, did you not want immigrants coming in because they're taking your jobs and stuff? Because Trump has announced, he just welcomed a plane full of white South African immigrants. Is MAGA going to be pissed about that? They're going to take your jobs and your homes, right? Isn't that your whole talking point? And Trump's welcoming. I'm pretty sure Trump chartered the plane for them. Deficit Donald said, don't worry, we got tax money to charter a plane for white South African immigrants. Where do you guys stand? Are you anti this? Can you talk against Trump? Remember, he's coming after people for thinking differently, for thought crimes. So it's just weird to me that Trump is bragging about taking in the white South African immigrants, because I thought his whole thing was we need to close the borders and the immigrants have to go. So none of it makes sense. Make it make sense? Well, I know it doesn't. That's rhetorical. They're relocating them to white America. CEO wage is way too high. What's up, Mama? Good to see you. Good to see you, fam. Yeah, I can't understand. I see that in the news. Of course, Elon Musk. It's probably all his, cousins, all his inbred cousins. His dad married his stepdaughter, his half sister or something. I don't know. There's all his inbred comments. I'm like, the colonizers need to immigrate. The South African colonizers need to leave. I'm sure the native South Africans are good, get them all on a plane, get the fuck out of here. But I don't understand the political party that's immigrants are bad, but we'll let in these immigrants. They're taking people off the streets to get the immigrants out, but at the same time they're chartering planes to let more immigrants in. I don't know. It just shows how stupid their fucking base is. Or what is the truth? Oh, it's racism. That's what it is. It's racist. I forgot. It's racism. That's what it is. Sorry, guys. Sorry. All right. Hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell. We'll do some newsmentary tomorrow. Much love, Alma and CJ. Alex, thanks for hitting subscribe. Join the coalition. We're here to wake people up, folks. The news commentary. It's here to point out that if you get mad because I said the minimum wage should be $66 an hour, which is just the equivalent of what the boomers had in the 70s, their home buying power. If you get mad at that, but you're not livid that CEOs are making $100,000 an hour, they're making a down payment on a house every hour, then you're the problem. And you can change that. That's the beautiful thing. While you can, before the billionaires put chips in our brains, folks, you can still change your mind. Don't think that they're not doing Neuralink so they can control your brain. That's exactly why they're doing it. We need to figure out how to, you know, off switch these people. We're heading into the Matrix. That's it. Bandito, what's up, buddy? Go Knicks. Get out of here. Bandito, you coming in late, but it's good to see you. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. F the Thought Police. Ooh, that would be a good parody song. We need NWA to come out. Oh, too bad Ice Cube's just like a greedy capitalist now. Wasn't he? I think he went and met with Trump or something. I don't know. I can't get into it right now. All right, guys. Have a good one.